Well, let's just say this about Jauan Jennings. There wasn't many of our fan base that thought that way about Jennings. Maybe the ones who were Tennessee Volunteer fans that are Niner fans that thought that way. But before that, nobody was sure about him. I was probably one of the very few guys that was like saying, this guy's going to be good. And everybody just said, sure. You know, he's a 7th-round pick. He ain't going to make this team. I mean, he was cut in 2020, man. But he still came back, and we were able to keep him onto our roster. And the funny part about this was we had this guy that he actually replaced in college, Jalen Hurd. Not Jalen Hurts, Jalen Hurd. He actually outplayed Jalen Hurd. There was quite a few guys that were pretty high on Jalen Hurd because he was a preseason hype. But I remember I told this content creator and quite a few other Niner fans, I said, hey, Jauan Jennings is going to beat out this guy. Because he did it in college, and he's going to do it at the pros. And some of them were just saying, you are joking, right? And I'm like saying, why not, bro? Do you see the film? Do you see what this guy does? And then some of them had some thoughts and say, maybe you're onto something with this. And I told them, man, you got to watch the tape. You got to watch how the guy plays. The guy plays with passion. The guy's a physical receiver. And he does exactly what Kyle wants him to do anyways. So he may not be fast, but he gives me that Anquan Boldin vibes. The reason why I say it's Anquan Boldin, because Anquan Boldin ran a 4.7. Jauan Jennings runs a 4.7. They are like in between the 220 pounds of body weight. Jauan Jennings is over 6 feet, but he's 6'3". But the reason why he gives me those vibes is because this guy makes tough catches. This guy was their best receiver in Tennessee. In Tennessee, this guy made clutch plays. I think, if I remember correctly, they have a statue with him in Tennessee that makes him legendary. So that's what's so interesting about him. He made some nice catches in college, and then coming into the NFL, he had to just adjust to the next level, and it took him until like his second season, and then that's when he started coming in. And then I kept pushing for this guy, and everybody kept saying, you're such a big homer in this guy. And I kept saying, dude, watch the guy play. And he balled out. But now, the way you guys see him play, he does make important catches in the playoffs. He does make some important catches on 3rd down. But what you saw on Sunday against the Rams, if injuries were to happen, he can step in and produce. He don't have to be a Deebo Samuel, okay? You don't have to be a Deebo Samuel. He'll make the catches. He'll take the tough hits and make the tough blocks. And if you need him to make a big play, he can do it. He doesn't have the speed, but he'll make the plays. If you need him to do this type of play, he's going to do it. This guy loves the game of football. That's the kind of guys I like. The guys who are passionate about the game of football. This guy was so passionate about playing at Tennessee that he even tried to get the other coach fired because he wasn't feeling this culture, and I think the other coach was fired because he was fed up with this losing culture shit. And he kind of called out everybody and got them accountable. I like those kind of players that do that because they care about winning. See, Jauan Jennings is a great example of a guy you can have on your team because he'll do whatever it takes to win. And those are kind of hard to find, especially the ones who have a lot to prove. Especially in the 7th round or undrafted, they have more to prove. But if they're like the early round picks, it's just more pressure, but they still have more chances. The ones who are lower rounds, they don't have a chance. Like, not much chance. But what you saw with Jauan Jennings is you see a guy that's proven his worth. He's building chemistry with Brock Purdy, and he got his contract, and he's going to stick around for another year, and he's doing it the right way. I believe you keep him for the long term, he's going to be exactly what you want to build around your team long term. I don't think he's a short-term answer. I think he's a long-term guy. He's meant to be a Niner for life. I mean, this guy makes tough catches. This guy does everything. So I just don't think it's out of the question. I believe the guy is more than capable. If you give him more targets, this guy can do it. But in the running game, he can block and he can do everything you want him to do. But it's no doubt, I knew from the get-go this guy was going to be good. I knew it right off the bat. So yeah, it's just, you see talent when you see talent. And the guy's a dog. You watch his highlights, his college highlight film. That's a dog, bro. You watch college football when he was playing that college football at Tennessee. You see a guy that loves the game of football. So that's why I believe, I knew it right off the bat he was going to be a star. On a loaded stack roster, difference. But he's good. He can be anybody's starting receiver, any other teams, Like, for example, look at the Patriots. Who are their receivers? Jauan Jennings can be the number one receiver. Carolina, who would they be the number one receiver? He would be the number one receiver. I mean, you look at, let's see. You look at other teams. I mean, you got Denver. He can be starting for Denver. I mean, he can be starting for the Chargers because he fits what Harbaugh does. I mean, he can be a starting receiver anywhere else, but he's on our squad because we're pretty stacked. But I'm telling you, he is pretty good. So I liked how he developed that type of talent. Sometimes you get your talent, you find your luck, and you find that diamond, and that guy knows how to produce. So yeah, I know from right off the bat he's good.